Alone with my boss's wife, at the lake one night changed everything. The first scream came from the lake just after midnight. It cut through the cold air like broken glass, waking every fear buried inside Daniel's chest. He stood frozen on the wooden porch of the old cabin, staring into the darkness where the water moved like black silk under the moonlight. His boss's wife had disappeared only minutes earlier, and now the silence around him felt dangerous. He had come to this place expecting one simple business trip. Instead, one night was about to change everything he thought he knew about pain, loyalty, and second chances. If you believe in kindness, healing, and the power of new beginnings, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that even broken lives can rise again. Daniel had spent most of his life carrying burdens no one could see. At 32, he worked long hours as a driver and assistant for Victor Hale, one of the wealthiest businessmen in the city. Victor owned hotels, restaurants, and properties across the country, but he treated people like furniture, useful only when needed. Daniel endured the insults because he had no choice. His mother needed medicine, his younger sister needed school fees, and after losing his father years earlier, Daniel had become the pillar holding his family together. He was exhausted in ways sleep could never fix. When Victor ordered him to drive to a private lakeside cabin for the weekend, Daniel expected another miserable assignment. But what surprised him was seeing Victor's wife, Elena, sitting silently in the back seat. She was elegant, graceful, and known in public as the smiling partner beside a successful man. Yet that day her eyes looked empty, like windows in an abandoned house. The drive was long and quiet. Victor spent most of it shouting on phone calls, insulting employees and threatening contracts. Elena said nothing. She simply looked out the window at passing trees and cloudy skies. Once, Daniel caught her reflection in the mirror. There were tears she quickly wiped away. By evening they arrived at the lake cabin, a beautiful place surrounded by pine trees and still water. It should have felt peaceful, but tension lived in every room. Victor drank heavily, barked orders, then stormed into his office to continue his calls. Daniel unpacked luggage, prepared dinner, and kept his head low. Later that night, thunder rolled across the sky. Victor and Elena argued behind closed doors. Their voices rose sharply, then suddenly stopped. Minutes later, Elena rushed outside wearing only a coat over her evening clothes. Daniel saw her running toward the dock. Then came the scream. He sprinted through the rain, heart pounding. The dock was slick, the wind fierce. Elena had slipped near the edge, one leg trapped between broken boards, half hanging over the dark water. Daniel dropped to his knees, ignoring the icy rain, and pulled with everything he had. The wood splintered. She cried out in pain. With one final effort, he dragged her back onto the dock just as another board collapsed into the lake. For several seconds, they both lay there breathless, soaked, and shaking. Elena looked at him not with pride or distance, but with raw human fear. Then she began to cry. Daniel helped her inside and wrapped her ankle. Victor appeared in the hallway, annoyed more than concerned. He accused her of causing drama, then returned to his office. Daniel could not believe what he had seen. No husband should look at his injured wife that way. That night, while thunder shook the windows, Elena finally spoke. She told Daniel that wealth can hide misery better than poverty ever could. Victor had once been charming, ambitious, loving even, but success changed him. Control became his addiction. He insulted her, isolated her, humiliated her in private. The world saw luxury. She lived in a prison with expensive walls. Daniel listened quietly. For the first time, he shared pieces of his own story too. The debt after his father died. The nights he skipped meals so his sister could eat. The shame of being treated like less than human because he was poor. Two strangers from different worlds sat in one storm, discovering they were wounded by the same loneliness. Morning came soft and gray. Victor had left early for a city meeting, barely mentioning Elena's injury. Daniel expected orders to remain silent and obedient, but something inside him had shifted. He no longer saw himself as powerless. Over the next 2 days, Elena's ankle improved. They walked slowly by the lake, speaking honestly about regret and survival. Daniel realized she was not the glamorous figure from magazine photos. She was simply a person trying not to drown. She noticed things others never had. How Daniel checked medicine prices before buying anything for himself. How he always called home to ask if his mother had eaten. How he smiled politely even when insulted. One afternoon she asked why he stayed in such a cruel job. Because sometimes love makes people accept pain, he said quietly. My family needs me more than I need dignity. Her eyes filled again. When they returned to the city, life resumed, but nothing felt the same. Victor became harsher, sensing distance he could not control. Daniel was blamed for mistakes he did not make. His salary was delayed. Threats became common, then disaster struck. Daniel's mother collapsed and needed urgent surgery. The cost was impossible. He begged Victor for an advance on wages he had already earned. Victor laughed and said desperation was not his problem. Daniel walked out of that office shattered. That evening there was a knock at his apartment door. Elena stood there alone, carrying an envelope and groceries. Inside the envelope was enough money for the surgery. Daniel refused at first, pride burning in his chest. But Elena told him something he would never forget. Accepting help is not weakness. Sometimes it is how broken people keep each other alive. His mother received treatment in time. For the first time in years, Daniel cried from relief instead of pain. Weeks passed. Elena filed for divorce. Newspapers exploded with gossip. Victor tried to ruin reputations, but hidden evidence of his abuse and corruption began to surface. Business partners walked away. His empire started cracking under the weight of truth. Daniel also changed. Encouraged by Elena, he applied for management work at a small transport company. His honesty and years of hard work impressed the owner. He was hired with better pay and respect. Life did not become perfect overnight. Bills still existed. His mother recovered slowly. His sister still studied by dim light at night. But hope had entered their home like sunrise through curtains long closed. Months later, Daniel returned to the lake alone. The same dock had been repaired. The water shimmered peacefully. He stood where fear had once ruled him and realized how much can happen in a single night. A scream had led to courage. A storm had led to truth. Two hurting people had reminded each other that survival is possible. Elena arrived unexpectedly a few minutes later. She was dressed simply now, no designer image, no guarded smile. She looked lighter. They walked beside the water in silence first, then laughter came naturally. No promises were spoken, no dramatic confessions were needed. Some connections grow quietly, like trees after rain. Daniel knew whatever happened next, he was no longer the man who obeyed cruelty because he felt small. He had learned that dignity returns the moment a person chooses it, and Elena knew wealth without peace is poverty in disguise. Before this story ends, leave a comment and tell us, have you ever faced a moment that changed your whole life in one night? Years later, Daniel would remember the scream less than what followed it, the helping hands, the courage to walk away. The kindness that arrived when all doors seemed closed, because sometimes the darkest night is not sent to destroy you. Sometimes it is sent to wake you up. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. And tell us in the comments, what country are you watching from? Your message may inspire someone across the world who needs hope tonight.